Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of On the Couch. And with me, of course, my co-host Ian Nash.
Hey John, how you doing?
Good, thank you. And you? And a couple of gentlemen that you should be getting familiar with. James Leonard, and good to have you back.
Yep.
And Will Clayfield.
Good to be back, mate. Awesome.
There you go. How you doing? All right?
Not too bad at all.
James, you doing all right?
Awesome.
Lovely. We've got another guitar of yours tonight, another bass.
One of my many.
One of your many. So yeah, I can see we're gonna have a few episodes dedicated to some of your basses. Now, those
It's
of
a
you
great story, this one.
great story, yeah. And I've got to say, those of you that follow the channel know that I'm a hardcore sort of heavy rock Kiss fan and Gibson bass player BC Rich Dean. Tonight, though, we're going a little bit left of field, right of field. We're going to an Ibanez. It's not an area I'm familiar with, so I don't know a lot about this guitar. Looking forward to finding out, though. An Ibanez RBS 960.
That's it.
Tell me about this bass.
Well, they were very popular and actually quite hard to get even back in the 80s when they first came out. I was an Ibanez guy when Ibanez was my first expensive bass that I bought in a band and toured with a Destroyer too extensively until I went on to BC Riches and things like that because they look cool.
Yep.
But these ones were always a little bit more expensive even back then, and they weren't always that easy to pick up. I mean, I walked into Parlings and bought a Destroyer because it was hanging on the rack. These were a little bit harder to get. They bring them up from Sydney or something like that, and these are active, whereas the ones I have are all passive.
So were these more considered to be a more high-end professionals type?
I'd say a high-end intermediate.
High-end, yeah. And they're really aimed at the
more
new
serious
romantic bands and stuff like that. You know, like ABC and Duran.
I was going to say, was this when you were
absolutely.
going through your Duran phase, was it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
they're new romantics, you know. Adam and the Ants, I was a big fan.
Adam and the Ants. Oh, no.
Roxy Music.
Roxy Music.
Stop.
Same bass player.
Same over, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's another episode. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Adam and the Ants and Roxy Music.
For a short
There you
period
go.
of time it was, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. I know the guitarist in Adam and the Ants ended up with the guitar from Dave Hill in Slade. He had that big yob guitar.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm digressing. This is a bass show. Let's get back to things. Now, there's a story behind this bass,
Yes,
right?
there is. Yeah. Well, how we got it. So,
Okay.
Will has already bought a number of basses through me, as we've seen previously. So I get the call from Will again. It says, "Hey, I'm after Ibanez RBS 960," which as a bass collector, I knew about Ibanez basses, but the 960 didn't really mean a lot to me.
Mhm.
And so I started getting through my contacts to find one, and what I quickly found out was very rare. Not a lot. In fact, there were none on eBay or anywhere like that. This is the reason why Will came to me, because
Because you've been on the lookout.
I'll go through. I'll exhaust all my resources and I go, okay, time to call in.
And let's not forget, you are a professional muso and you have some contacts in the industry.
Yeah.
So if you can't find it,
I know. If I can't find it, it's still got to be out there. I'll go to my go-to guy.
and you go to a guitar broker, retailer.
So this is how the story started, and I started looking, and I exhausted all my contacts. So I was watching some YouTube videos, and I actually saw a famous bass player, John, and I thought, ooh, he's playing ARIA Pros. If he's an ARIA Pro guy, he's probably an Ibanez guy too. So sent the message out, get a response back, say, yes, I've got two RBS 960s, but I'm not selling them. And I said, oh, who do you know anybody who's got it? He says, well, actually, my contact in Japan has got an extensive range of guitars. Oh, in fact, when you talk about extensive, he's got about 16,000 guitars available.
Wow.
That he buys and sells.
Before we get to that though, are we allowed to mention the name of this John?
No,
Okay.
It's John. He's in a famous band.
Yep.
He's a really good bass player.
Yep.
he's got a great video on syncopation, but
Thanks, John.
Aria, and an Aria endorsed
and an
artist.
Aria and
So do some googling,
and
you'll work it out who it is. Yeah.
So anyway, he gave me the contact in Japan, who's I believe he collects basses through this guy. So I sent a email through this guy. Bingo. Yes, we've got one. So I was able to go back to Will and say, hey, got one. This is what it's going to cost. Of course, the Australian dollar is not particularly healthy at the moment.
Yeah, I think tanked is the word.
Tanked. Bottom down.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were able to get it. We were able to negotiate
a price.
A price.
Pretty good price.
Pretty good price. Considering that this is in immaculate condition, I mean, this is better than mint condition. I mean, would you say, Will?
I thought it would just come off the shelf. It's like brand new.
Yeah, brand new. So anyway, we were able to secure the deal, got it into Australia. I think I bought it on a Friday night, Australian time. It was here on the Tuesday.
It was quick.
It was quick.
It was very quick.
Amazingly quick.
And let me tell you, for those outside of Australia that are watching, mate, nothing gets into Australia quick. We're like in the middle of nowhere.
Well, generally the hold-up is when it gets to Australia, and if it hits Melbourne, it's stuck for weeks. If it hits Sydney or Brisbane, you'll get it in a couple of days.
Yeah,
it's just how the customs.
It's like the draw.
It works.
Anyway, it came in. They'd taken the neck off and secured it. It was in its gig bag and everything like that. Put it together, tuned it up. And like the action on it was just superb.
Yeah, I haven't touched it since.
Yeah, I said, Will say, hey, your bass is here. He must have thought I was joking. And there it was, and here it is. And wow, I tell you what, I've loved the Ibanez. I've had a few Ibanez basses over the years, but I tell you what, this is quite a
cracker.
Cracker, yeah.
So now, Will, I want to come back to you. You said that Ian got the bass in, set it up. Played it, beautiful.
Yeah.
And you haven't touched it. You haven't played it since.
I've tinkered with it at home.
Yeah. But it's not a recording bass. It's not a gigging bass.
It'll be a recording bass.
It will. Okay.
Gigging probably not because of the rarity of them. They're so hard to find.
Yep.
So I probably won't take it out on the road, but I will record with it.
Yep.
And it has pride of place in with the rest of them.
There wouldn't be a lot of these in Australia.
No,
I'm thinking probably maybe half dozen.
I can remember the only other one that I did see was my replacement that took over from me in Vice in 1986, and he had the exact same bass.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one floating around anywhere since in Australia.
So, Will, I've got to know you a bit better over the last couple of episodes. You're definitely a Gibson man. You're a BC Rich man. You're a heavy metal, heavy rock kind of guy. But why the Ibanez? Is there a story behind it?
I think probably because the first good bass I had was an Ibanez.
Yeah. Right.
It never let me down except for one show, and that was I've never ever broken a string except for that one show, and it was the E string. But sound wise, yeah, I don't know. They weren't rotor sound. That's the thing. Sound wise, feel wise, balance wise, I just love that, and I love the Explorer shape. Yeah. And then when I saw these, I was actually out of a band at the time, and I thought I'd love to get one, but I've really got no use for one.
Yep.
And at the time, I wasn't a real big fan of active basses. This is an active bass. Yeah. So I sort of let it slide, and then something came up, and I saw one somewhere. I might have actually been watching an old Vice film clip with Mick playing his, and I just thought, I'm going to start looking for one of those because now's the time.
Isn't it funny, because sometimes you just see a bass and it just looks good. And Ian and I have had this discussion, like all my basses are all long scale or normal scale basses because to me they look good. And like you, I've got the rippers and the grabbers, and and they're a fatter, bigger body. So when you're playing them, they look really tough. And sometimes it's just the look, and that's I think what started me or attracted me to guitars like Gibson's, and then of course I've gone to BC Rich and because of the heavy metal thing. So I was just curious to see, because
Yeah.
You're more.
And
I
I
wondered
agree.
if there was a particular artist that used to play it.
Well, there was two particular artists that that played Ibanez, and I think they might have played. The next one up from these were a neck through, and they were the musician, and it was someone that I was actually a big fan of. His playing at the time. It was Todd Hunter from Dragon. And he played an Ibanez bass as well as a Steinberger. And the Ibanez's of the time, and this one has it too, has that very piano-y Steinberger type sound to it. And Steve Harris also had a musician that was his backup bass if his P bass ever let him down.
Steve Harris from Iron Maiden.
Yeah. So I thought, I like the sound, and I sort of went to a bit more. I like the bit sleeker body on these, and so I've got the Ibanez has got a sleeker body, and a couple of the other basses that I've got at home have a smaller body, and I find them a little bit easier in a live situation to move around and play. So I thought I'll see if Ian can get one in, because I've exhausted every channel that I knew of that may possibly have one turn up.
Well, no, clearly you hadn't, because he found one.
Well, that's right.
Well,
but he's my man. To find
Well, you've exhausted all your channels.
That's
and
right,
He's gone into his.
And it was only because I knew of a guy that I had a hunch.
A mate who knew a mate who knew a mate.
Right? And I've the thing is, since John introduced this guy in Japan, I've used him a couple of times now, and he's the guy. If you're after a really rare guitar, if he hasn't got it, you'll get it. I mean, like I said, he's got access to 16,000 guitars and basses. That's just like.
Must have a good warehouse.
Yeah.
Well, or warehouses,
Or
because
warehouses.
they're spread all over Japan.
Yeah.
But sometimes you see on eBay, you'll see a particular guitar, and you'll see the same guitar multi-listed. Well, this is what they do, and so.
Before you're saying that you weren't really into active pickups, how do you find playing with the active pickup?
I've got used to them.
Yep.
I've still got to remember that it's a real punchy signal, and with my passive basses, and I've only just sort of got into this recently with pedals and things like that, with wanting a little bit more sustain and all that, and the Gene Simmons tone and that sort of thing. I found the pedal that gives you that. I find that I've just got to be, and same when you use with wireless systems. If I've got my wireless system set up for passive pickups and plug an active bass into it, it's just an insanely loud signal. You've got to turn the transmitter down, and it's a lot of messing around. So if I'm going to play active, it's active for the whole show.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I'll record with. It's got a beautiful tone. It's old like me. It's collectible like me.
Like you.
All of us. What's it? 80? It's not
85.
85. So does that make it 37 years?
37.
So when did you when did all this go down? When did you find it? How long have you had it?
We just moved here.
Yeah.
So
so it's this year?
March, April.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's not that long.
I think it was our first brokerage deal in our new premises.
Okay.
It was like I said, I found it. I think you contacted me on the Thursday.
Yeah.
I flicked an email or message to John in England. He got back to me within a day. I found it.
Done deal.
And done down, you had it out
In the
here
morning.
the following Tuesday.
Friday morning. Friday night I bought it. Cleared next, because we're a few hours ahead of Tokyo.
Yeah.
The funds cleared. Bang. And it was here on Tuesday. They sent it Monday, and it came
was
right
so
through.
fast.
It cleared customs straight away.
Wow.
So that's a success story from
That's
way to go.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And it's actually made in Japan.
Okay.
So I'm pretty happy with that too, because the quality of the Japanese stuff, especially Ibanez, through those early to mid 80s, even back through like the 70s, and they'd be able the pre-lawsuit guitars and that, was really outstanding.
Yeah.
And this is no different. The quality of it, like I said to Ian, it looks like it's just come out of the factory.
Because you've got to remember from the history of the Japanese electric guitar, which we talked about.
Yeah.
Ibanez are the only survivors from the Matsumoto.
Well, I was just about to ask. I should have
the
done
only
my
ones.
research. Would that have come through the Matsumoto factory, or is that a bit
no,
after?
That's after, but
Yeah.
Ibanez, there's only a handful of survivors. There's Ibanez, Guitar, Greco,
No,
Yamaha,
Not too
Suzuki.
many.
That's about it.
Mm.
And Ibanez is the biggest.
Yeah.
All the others, they just died.
Because my Vantage bass that you brokered,
Yeah.
that came through Matsumoto, but
Yeah.
obviously I don't think Vantage are around.
Ibanez has seemed a very
No.
consistent sort of manufacturer the whole time they've been out. Everything's always been pretty clean, pretty consistent. You get something from Ibanez, it works, it does what it's supposed to.
Mm.
The more you pay, the more frills you get. You know, whereas some other companies, you pay $10,000 for something that has half the quality of something
Yeah.
they sell for $5.
I think
So
what stands in Ibanez, as said, is that they've got such a great stable of artists that actually use the
it.
brand.
Well, yeah, and
Feedback.
Big
artists.
names, yeah.
The thing is, when Ibanez changed their logo, so the late 70s, early 80s, they had
The spaghetti one.
the spaghetti Ibanez logo, and then they changed it to a more bolder lettering. Those, and that was the same time as when they were cloning all the Gibsons and Fenders and stuff, and they're getting
The
the
long
asses sued all the time. Those Ibanez, Japanese Ibanez guitars with the old logos, they're worth a fortune.
Okay.
I'm sorry I sold my Les Paul.
Yeah, well, I had a Tele, I had a Rickenbacker copy 4001 Ibanez.
Well, I was just going to say, with Ibanez too, they're probably the one brand that comes to mind that covers virtually every guitar style out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're from country type style guitars right through to your heavy metal, you know,
Absolutely.
Explorer V's.
I've got an Ibanez Geo, and it'll probably be my top 3 go-to pickup guitars. If I just want to pick something up and play it without knowing I might have to tune it or might have to muck around,
Yeah.
I just got to pick it up and play it. It'll be one of my go-tos.
And you've got to remember, Ibanez were one of the first Japanese brands, probably the first modern guitars to start short scale basses. They were
Okay.
building them in the 60s.
And you've got, like you said, there's such a diverse audience of people that like artists that play the brand. I mean, like Paul Stanley from Kiss
With the ice
with
cream.
Ibanez. You've
Yeah.
got Steve Vai, you know,
Yeah.
with his guitar. You've got Joe Satriani.
Yeah.
So there's some really big market names
Yeah.
there that play the same brand. So it's going to keep them afloat for quite a while, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Will, mate, I think we've done enough talking. It's about time we did some listening.
Okay.
You want to pick it up for the second time since you've had it? And
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Give it a bit of a noodle and just let us
I haven't. Yeah. Oh well.
have a bit of a hear.
I haven't played it that much, but
Oh, it's just a bass, mate.
it's in tune.
That's the Kiss. That's the Kiss theme. Yeah, that's always a continuing theme.
But even with active pickups, like they don't cut through. Like
Yeah.
they're still smooth. It's really nice.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how old the battery is in this because I actually haven't changed it yet. So,
There's no pressure on it, so it's not that.
so it's not from 1985 as well.
And look, that is the one thing that is the downside of active is you got to check the 9-volt battery. Pull it out.
Pull it out.
Because when they leak,
That's the end of that.
we've seen some really bad stuff with kids that
So yeah, it's just got that real piano-y type,
Yeah.
bright tone, which I like.
Yeah, it's sort of that keyboard, almost keyboard
Yeah.
that was more, really big in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that new age new romantic. Think Aria Pro, think Ibanez, Spandau Ballet, ABC, Duran, all those type of goes right into it.
Very good. Well, Will, thanks again, mate. You keep playing us out. I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us for another session of On the Couch. Like I say every time, don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the alert button and share us with everybody. To our Bass Upfront family, big shout out to you guys. We'll catch you next time right here on the couch. Till then, take care.
Cheers.